East Coast. It's very late, and we just appreciate the fact that you're willing to spend some time with us and learn about how our algorithms work and what we do for the trade of the week. So before we get started, let's focus on a quick disclaimer that I just have to run through. Trade Ideas is not a registered investment advisor, and all the information that you see is not considered as a solicitation to buy or sell securities. Trade Ideas is there for informational purposes and educational purposes. So when we start the webinars, and again, we do the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week webinar that focuses on how it is that we find the trade of the week, we still like to let the people know that Trade Ideas is being recognized as a top performer in the category of idea generation using algorithms, and this was a recognition done at the Benzinga annual awards, and we were just really excited to be recognized for something that we think we're the leaders in and are the best in the world. So again, when we do the trade of the week, I kind of like to give everybody just a little bit of an overview of what's going on, so that again, if you're not Trade Ideas customers, you can just be aware that we just recently upgraded all of our technology, and our software now offers charting for the first time ever in 12 years. With that came a small price increase, and we'll show you what the new price schedule is, but it's really exciting because we feel we have much more of a complete package for you now, and you're going to be able to instantly visualize the ideas that we are algorithmically presenting to you. So this is TI Pro version 4.0. Today during the presentation I'll show you how to access it and where it's located on the website. Because again, that's just one of the things that we do when we're doing these webinars. A quick introduction on myself and how the business got started, because again, when we present the algorithms, we kind of like to give a little bit of a background, and this is me trading in 1996, March. I had already been trading for 2 years at this point, and it was quite a journey. It took me over $50,000 to figure out what I had done poorly, and it was a much different market, a market that just today you can't even imagine. You guys would feel like, you know, it would be so easy if you saw it, but again, today's market is a much more evolved animal, much more competitive, much more difficult, and that was the reason that we invented Trade Ideas. We invented it so that we could help ourselves do better, and then it became a business as well, because it was part of another company where we were all competing in the brokerage space. So it's one of those things that, again, I've been in the business for a very long time, and I've been trading also for a very, very, very long time. So over those years, and having traded and ran technology companies for trading, one of the things that we had a chance to do is learn what works and what doesn't work for very successful people. And that's part of what we're bringing to you in this Trade Ideas Trade of the Week service that everybody gets for free. The Trade Ideas Trade of the Week is a concept that we came up with when we decided that we really want to showcase, just so that everyone can have some exposure to this technology, because we think it's very meaningful in the sense that, you know, you don't have to necessarily be a subscriber to reap the benefits. You can also participate just on a, you know, for information kind of basis. So that's where the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week came from, and I'll be discussing this week's trade as well. I'll be talking about how using the Trade Ideas technology helps you basically refine your research. They're sort of one and the same, but I'll kind of dovetail into how they both intertwine, as well as present the offers and answer general questions. So I'm going to minimize the presentation and jump right to the software. So I've got a couple of windows here, and I'm just going to shrink them up. So these windows, they're called freebasing and bottom forming, are the algorithms that we use to find the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week. And I'm going to pull this one up, ANTH. So the trade ideas trade of the week this week was ANTH. And it was signaled right around this level, like somewhere in, or maybe even just right where it is right now. But what our software looks for when it's trying to figure out is there a chance for something to continue higher, is it's not only looking at ANTH, of course, but it's kind of analyzing all the different types of formation that have various characteristics of this move, and then it does the statistical analysis to see, well, which parts of this move is something that can be applied to other things versus which are things that you have to throw away. So what I'm going to do too is I'm going to show you how the trade ideas trade of the week concept, just right here, how you can use it in your own research. Just again, if you're using trade ideas technology, I'm going to show you how to use this to find similar types of trade of the week candidates. So all of these lists are, of course, available to all of our customers. Okay. So this free basing list is the same as this one. I just copied it. What I did was I did a different sort. And sorting information is very, very important. And I wanted to discuss why it makes our top list windows very powerful for finding trade candidates and how we help you get there. So, okay, so this free basing strategy is a strategy that's looking for a base pattern. Now, basing is something kind of like this, but then it starts to, go higher as the breakout out of the base. Now, of course, you might think to yourself, well, wow, Dan, ANTH doesn't really look like that. But I think what we saw on the specific version of this one, or at least what the computer told us, is that ANTH, from this point on, when it had this gigantic volume day and never touched this price again, kind of started to behave like a different animal. And again, we had followed it all through out here, and this was a very interesting maneuver too, and it was the first case where the computer kind of brought it up to our attention, but at that time the computer did not think that it was ready, although obviously in hindsight it was. And that's something that you guys should all know, is that even if a computer artificial intelligence thinks that something's going to happen, it's just doing it through statistics. There's no magic behind it. It's really crunching a lot of numbers and coming up with something. And sure enough, if you actually look at this move, once you were here and maybe you thought it was going to keep going, but it really had some very volatile movements after that, and then it started hitting right back up, and that's when when it crossed this point is when our computer decided that, what, this trend is actually worthwhile and strong. But let me switch back out of the zoom. And again, and if you actually zoom into it, zoom out a little bit like this, you can see that this is kind of like a little channeling range, and then it breaks out of it. And that's the other thing about the trade ideas AI, is that, so this motion that I'm doing right here, where I'm zooming, looking at a much bigger picture than I'm zooming in, our computer does that all the time by itself. So it's able to kind of see which view mode is the best human translations might kind of go forward and translate it into a meaningful data point for us to use. And again, that was what triggered the ANTH trade ideas trade of the week. Also the fact that the volume slope right here, notice how it started to basically go up and then continued up on much higher volume. So that was very important for the initiation of this move, as well as the fact that it came down on a lot of volume but then had a complete reversal. And then again had another washout on high volume and also had a complete reversal. So our software kind of keeps tabs on that. So it counts, oh, okay, reversal here, reversal here. So then it was, okay, now we really need an indication of a change in trend, and so that's what had happened on this day with the very big volume, and I think this is where everyone was notified. So what I want to do now is I want to talk to you about how looking at these windows, these are Trade Ideas top list windows, you can sort and resort information to kind of find the best and most interesting candidate. And I want to kind of showcase a couple of these to you so that these are some that like you should be jotting down as potential other trades of the week, or if you end up being a Trade Idea subscriber, simply let us know and we will give you these lists. So let's look at ARDX and why it came up on the bottom forming AI pattern recognition. First of all, if you guys are participating in speculation, which sounds like everybody here is, you need to understand that there's a lot of things that go into what makes a stock move. And it's not only simply just, you know, applying volume and buy pressure. There's other characteristics that let you know what kind of move you might want to expect. And one of these characteristics is the float. Okay? So the float is basically how many shares are out there that are being traded by you and I. Okay? What's out there that is in the public. And in this case, ARDX, only has a 6 million share float. So let's go over here real quick, okay, and look at this daily chart and just see what, whoops, I'm on that. Okay, so look at this. This is a beautiful example of why, again, this is important. So here's the stock, okay, that only has a 6 million share float. That means if somebody wanted to buy all of the stock, it would only have to have a 6.79 million share day, and if it was one person, they could own the whole thing. Okay, so you got to believe that it would go up considerably. So this is a pharmaceutical company, right? So there was something going on here at 27, and some terrible news came out. And again, I'm not an analyst, so I don't even need to know. I can just tell they either missed something, a bad result on some phase 3, maybe a partnership breakdown, kind of irrelevant. Okay, so let me actually expand this so that everyone can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so right here, it comes down on high volume. By the way, guys, these are the Trade Ideas charts that I'm using here. So this is new to Trade Ideas, and this is what's part of the Trade Ideas Pro software, and I'll demonstrate again how to get to it later. But the ARDX example here comes down, okay, and on very, very heavy volume. This is like what you call a washout maneuver, and I mean, I almost hate to say it, but this, we used to joke around that this is, some people call this head and shoulders, but in the trading world, you call this the middle finger formation, and I think everybody here can see why. And by the way, notice how there's no pattern recognition that says, hey guys, I'm seeing the middle finger formation, although of all things, this looks probably the most likely. Now, that's, again, just a wee bit of our humor about the fact that you really need to understand the patterns more than name them and be able to see if a pattern is just, again, kind of noise or if there's something happening. So something very positive happened here. There's a lot of speculation, and something started to leak that it didn't work out. Maybe it did. It looks like it didn't, and then it really broke down and made new lows. Okay, so this right here, and again, we can see that this is the new low. This was the flush out point. Then you're seeing some movement higher on higher volume. Then again, retracement. But then here's the big one. Okay, just a very big movement higher, and then it just continues. Okay, so this is what this is called building a base. So this one, it hasn't yet gone to become a Trade Ideas trade of the week. Although again, you know, depending on, you obviously could have had it here, but the computer decided it was too volatile at that point. But this is a really nice basing pattern, and some people would say this actually does look like a flag or a triangulation pattern. Okay, and here, if it starts to move up higher, okay, then everybody who was speculating on the downside here, and there could have been a lot of people, are going to have to start covering, because obviously whatever happened here has been negated or is no longer relevant. So you have a stock that could literally start moving and testing the 25 area, filling this very, very wide gap. There's like, imagine this is like a volcano, right? And you have all this pent-up pressure that went in to make this happen. There's people here that felt a lot of pain and all the way through here. But if all of a sudden it starts to gap up and the people that were here, that got out here, that got out here are going to be very, very upset, especially the people that got out here as you're 10 points higher. So this is a candidate for a Trade Ideas Trade of the Week, and you would see something that would happen maybe right here. Remember, the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week is not a day trading type of strategy. It is a strategy for longer term kind of position and swing, and it's free. And that's why if you were a Trade Ideas subscriber, I mean, the reason that you're on this webinar is that we're trying to show you how people utilize our technology to get ahead of the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week. And so I want to showcase some of the stocks that have the most potential. Okay. So let's look at STLD. This was a very popular name today. Okay. So this stock, let's again notice shares 14 million. Now, okay. Now the ARDX, the share, the float of 6.79 million is tiny. Okay. In theory, even something that's under 100 million is actually considered on the small side. So all of these, notice how they're kind of color-coded, right? So this is telling you, like, this is, you know, if you're going to have some volume in here, you're going to see something really happen, okay? So look, this was a very big move. So 6.9 million shares, you know, that's a large percentage of the float. You know, not quite 50, but certainly very close, very close. So that means that that's what it took, and this is why that stock had this huge 22% movement. And here's where everybody starts saying, oh my gosh, well then it's clearly overbought. Yes, it would be overbought if you listen to RSIs and every other technical indicator, but the point of the matter is, again, nobody really knows until it starts to continue, and that's why with the Trade Ideas algorithms and viewing tools, you constantly always have situational awareness, where you're just able to see what's going on, and then you can make decisions on your own. In fact, you know, there are many of our clients who have asked us for a Trade Ideas Trade of the Week type custom strategy, and again, if you own the odds maker, we make custom strategies for people, where again, it tries to catch these moves, you know, but obviously earlier. There's an attempt to catch the complete bottoms, like these types of moves. And that's the beauty of Trade Ideas, is that we are free to really not just look for some old patterns from the 70s that everybody repeats, like double bottom, triple bottom, head and shoulders, inverted cup and handle. They're just so limited in terms of, you know, what you have. There's so many more types of things to watch for, and that's what our technology does, because it's doing it all mathematically and not visually. And that's the key to your success, is relying on statistics versus relying on just what your eyes tell you. Okay, so the 3D solar, you know, we think is a very interesting candidate, and that's definitely a name that you should keep an eye on. Again, because these little stocks with the small floats, they can instantly pop to over 5, and then there's just no resistance. Okay, so let's look at another one. Let's look at Ashford Hospitality. See what we got. Let me see if it'll come in now. Okay, this one, you know, probably not there yet, and I would say it would get to a Trade of the Week candidate once it got over this resistance and this resistance. So we'll just skip that. But what I'm actually, the other thing that I'm showing to you guys is that I'm also, you know, doing this by float. So here I'm finding the ones that if they're going to move, they're really going to move. Like look at this one, okay, SCON, Superconductor Technologies. Okay, again, 14 million float. Okay, and look at this move off of the bottom. This is a move that the Trade Ideas AI likes a lot, and this one again, as we've looked at the algorithm, we think that SCON has a really good chance to become a trade ideas trade of the week, maybe next week or the week after. What we want to see is just a little bit more basing or sustained price level following this kind of a breakout. But we really like to see when things just come out like this and, they kind of stabilize and go. And let's look back further. And again, this stock was much higher and had a very, very, very big sell-off. So they might have done something to completely, shift this, because at this point it was just looking like it was going nowhere. So again, something to keep an eye on. And again, we're going to wait because there's still a very, the difference. Notice how ANTH, the Trade Ideas Trade of the Week this time, that was a stock that's very strong. So that's the other thing that you have to really consider, and part of what hopefully you see us showing you is that it's this multifaceted kind of concept where just like a poker player, you have to understand the odds of what's happening to the deck, but you also sort of have to read the other people that you're working with. And our computers kind of are trying to do the same thing. In the case of the read, they understand that, okay, well, this stock has clearly been in a very negative trend, but if you just, again, it's all perspective. You just look at it briefly, just since June or end of May and June through July, it's kind of really shifted its gears. And there's, again, something where, understanding how to set yourself up in a situation of good risk management where all of a sudden, okay, let's say you get in on a pullback and you can really give it a very kind of tight stop to anything below 110, 109 if you were trading this, so it's only 20 cents. And you really are then able to play around with it. So this bottoming forming AI is sorted by float. But again, I can do something different, and I can instantly be aware of, again, the candidates that might need my attention sooner. And that's why I picked out SLTD, the one that we had just talked about, the one that was really coming out of that negative cycle. Well, what made me notice it is that look at the relative volume. So we have this column called the relative volume, which basically is saying, what's this stock doing relative to what it normally does? And at the time of the close, it was trading 26 times its normal volume. So that's an interesting thing to consider. So you can almost look at things where, can I find the best of everything? Can I find something that has high relative volume, not a huge float, okay, and maybe even make a little money, possibly, okay? Notice how the speculative names certainly don't, and that's a lot of what happens, but you can kind of, but the one that we had talked about here, ANPH, where I had said that, it kind of has to, it's got to do a little bit more work, you can there's also a fundamental aspect to it. There is that understanding that it does not hurt a company if it is actually making some money, okay? So all of the columns in trade ideas are sortable and resortable, okay? So here, in this case, Southwest Airlines, was brought up on the bottoming forming AI. Look at this right here. Ever since the gas prices had been rising, things had been coming, the airlines really started to take a hit. But there's an interesting, this is definitely another stock that could very easily be a trade ideas trade of the week candidate, especially if it starts to fill this range on more volume. And this is an example of how, with our software, you're not limited to being stuck, just on penny stocks or one thing or the other. You really can move around, and I've just only done one window, and I'm showing you guys just by resorting different columns, here on revenues, or, you can even do it on earnings per share. So now you can find, well, which of these names that are in the bottoming forming AI are actually, making some money. And then you can say, okay, well, maybe maybe there could really be an interesting turnaround play here. So ESI, I think we brought this up before. It's very possible. I don't remember. Maybe Scott will help me, but I don't know if this one was already one of our trade ideas trades of the week. It might have been. I don't quite remember. It very easily could have been, but if not, it's definitely setting itself up nicely. Okay, ever since the bottom pattern in May, and that's definitely another one that has a lot of potential. So one of the things that we really wanted to do with these webinars is not only sell you our product and try to show you how great we are, but we want to give you viable candidates for free so that you can see what our technology is about, and so that you can maybe help yourself as well. The other thing about, again, the research, right, is that a lot of what happens in the FinTech industry, people spend so much time on teaching you how to configure stuff, like how all of these settings are done, and you can change anything you want in trade ideas. But the beauty about using it is you don't need to know all of that, because we create the windows for you. It's kind of like, again, pay-per-view or HBO. You just select what what you're interested in, and sort of like the Apple model, since we interface with everybody that subscribes, we interact with you and we help you see the view that you want to see. Okay, so let's look at something else. So we found ESI. Let's scroll down a little bit and notice all the windows are scrollable. Okay, and again, what's nice about ESI is it's got all the things that we look for in a possible gigantic runner, right? And that is first of all, it's not terribly expensive, number one. It's actually small. And it's got that small float, and it's making money. That is actually fairly rare. Okay? So let's keep going. Let's see. ADRX, I think was that the one? Okay, so now then when you get into the pharmaceuticals, the pharmaceutical companies, you're for sure not going to be making any money, but you can understand why some of these are in the mix, because these are speculative drug makers, and some of them have very beautiful forming patterns. AMP. Okay, so AMP is again one of the top candidates for a soon-to-be trade ideas trade of the week, but see, the issue here is the volume. So our software needs a little bit more action from it, and we think it's going to happen, possibly. But certainly, again, to help you guys, this is definitely a picture that I would keep in my mind. And notice that, again, there's nothing better in the stock market than great turnaround plays. And here's one that gaps down from like roughly 790 to 3, right? And spends a lot of time here, 3 months. But through this time, there's been people have been acquiring it, right? And if it starts to go, there's could be a lot of opportunity, because again, even on a here's it did 900,000 shares in volume, but it's got a 40 million float. That's, again, that is not a large float. So there's just a lot of opportunity. Okay, so we covered this part of the bottom forming AI. So now I'm going to talk to you about the freebasing. And the freebasing is a little bit more freedom. So it doesn't have to be kind of a bottom forming. It's just a different view on a similar concept. Okay, and here we are looking for, like, again, there's something interesting had to have happened, but then there had to have been some kind of consolidation. And look at OGN, and this has been a very, very popular stock to trade. And again, as we hunt for alpha, which is the ability to not just make money, but you have to beat the averages, right? Being able to profile these kind of things and kind of keep you top mind, this is still setting up, is what Trade Ideas does, and this is what we do the best out of anyone. So Let's look at this one, then let's look at this one. Okay, this is another example of the basing, where notice, look, I mean, the whole, if you just, oops, this whole little area, okay, is what the software decided was enough of a base for it to meet that criteria. Basically from, again, from 4 months worth of being in a fairly tight range, okay. Let's look at date. Okay, another great example. So here's a stock that just ran, on very significant volume, and it's had a very serious pullback. But look, now it's gotten into this base area, right? And by the way, notice how we have the synchronized crosshairs. You can see where you are on both time frames. So here you are. This is what we call an inflection point. So something is about to happen, and date is, of course, another stock that you should definitely be keeping your eyes on. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to take a small break. Let Scott talk to you guys about the promotion that we have for this evening's webinar, and then I'll come back and I'll do some Q&A with everybody and show you more of what we do on the algorithm hunting. Scott, you ready?
Yeah, thanks. Can you park it on slide 8 for a minute?
Sure.
Yeah, so as Dan stated, we recently changed our rate schedule. So rather than the $75 a month and the $628 a year, we are now at $99 a month and $888 for the year. Oddsmaker is still a one-time payment of a lifetime license. The Oddsmaker will be required for the AI channel when that gets released. The AI channel is the channel that's going to have optimized strategies that are continually updated using our AI and Oddsmaker technology. So basically, nothing has changed for existing subscribers. If you're on a different rate, you're grandfathered in. There will be no rate increase as long as your subscription's kept active. All the usual kind of things go along with that. If you do make your subscription inactive for more than a couple of months, you probably have to come back at the new rate. We will look at things at a case-by-case basis, but in general, the rule of thumb is 1 month off. You can keep the rate you were at before. I'm going to have Dan do the QA session before I come back in to thank everyone with the product code that will give new subscribers a good discount on the new rates monthly. It'll save you money on the first month or for the first year. And we also have some savings on the Oddsmaker as well. We'll take $300 off of the Oddsmaker license. So stick around for that. Dan? Unless he slipped off to get some coffee.
Thank you, Scott.
All right.
Scott will be back when I... Okay, thank you. Okay, everyone, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take some time to answer other questions that Scott didn't get a chance to answer. And again, fire away. Ask anything. What is the fastest land animal on Earth? It's the cheetah. Okay, so when is the version for the Mac available? Okay, so right now the way we're doing it is we have a Mac version, but it's a web-based version, but it is very, very powerful. And what you want to do is you want to go to TradeIdeas.com and just simply launch TradeIdeas Web. Okay, and there's a lot of different ways that you can access it, but you can kind of see what's going on. You can be in demo mode. And then you can log in. You can do everything that you do in TradeIdeas Pro for the most part. So that's the way you handle being on the Mac. Okay, so if you do want to access TradeIdeas charts, you simply go to Products. The web version is compatible with all browsers, from my understanding. You go to Products and you scroll all the way down until you see this is the latest version that's not with charts, but it's the full release. And the charts are the beta, that's 4.002. And that's where you download the version with the charts. Okay? So Let me close that up. Okay, so are there any more questions about the software itself? David, in terms of the freebasing scans, like Scott said, I will provide those to you via email, so you just let me know. Any other questions? If not, I can really jump right into what it is that, again, separates trade ideas from a lot of the other vendors that you see. But hold on a second. Yes, David, same thing. In the email that you send us about the other question, ask us about the journal and we'll get you on there. So no problem. So Trade Ideas is kind of, we feel that we are the most innovative company in FinTech. And Mike, in terms of the biotech strategy, I will do that. Just shoot me in an email. Since it's so specific to a sector, I'll do it privately, but it's basically just on the high level. It's an example of using a symbol list to narrow down a strategy. No problem at all. So, but that's all that is. So you either create it via a sector or your own custom symbol list, and then I use the AI to help me isolate what was working, and I'll get one of those for you. So. At Trade Ideas, we really believe we're at the forefront of innovation for the stock market, and we think that through access to our type of technology, we really want to change the way people perceive how they interact with the markets. We don't want it to be scary and something that only other people do for you. It's something that you should be able to do yourself, and you can succeed at it, or certainly do way better than people that tell you to just give it to them do, because that's where the fees come in. You're always paying fees for service, and what we want to show people is that financial data, once you dissect it and kind of feel free to be able to maneuver in and out of it, is really quite interesting and exciting, and there is a lot of opportunity to really do better than just standard kind of returns. So obviously we have our channel bars, and one of the things that's going to be added soon, and by the way, one of the more important things about the channel bar is that aside from all the different things you can instantly check out by just the click of a button, it also gives you access to our support room where very active Trade Ideas users share strategies, share user knowledge. It's like crowdsourcing of the TI system to help people do better. And we really suggest that it's a very, very good place to learn how to do better overall and using our technology. So we're going to be adding a channel. It's called the AI channel. And it actually may be an AI channel bar because there'll probably be different types of AI channels in it. But what I want to really quickly do is show you, and again, the ones that don't have the odds maker, this is really critical for you. The odds maker is the most powerful piece of technology in FinTech right now. And let me just show you real quick what the odds maker does. The odds maker allows you to take a concept, like here's a stock that is just traded 2 times its average volume. That's what the alert is. Okay, and I can go to set a minimum for a price and a maximum. I'll say $5 and $50. Okay, and I'm going to call this strategy Test Me. So the idea here is we want to know what happens in the future typically when a stock is trading 2 times its average volume. So I right-click, I select Run Odds Maker, and I say, okay, if a stock is trading 2 times its average volume, show me, computer, what happens 4 days, well, actually it's 5 days after the trade. Okay, so here's an example. And Mike, yes, we've seen equity feed. So here, the computer is going through, it's so far has tested and ran 2,500 trades. So this is one of the things that we discuss whenever we're really trying to showcase how our research just really is so much better than everything out there. And that is that because of the power of our database and because what we do and that we store all of our data, you know, we're not, everything that you see of trade ideas is done from scratch. So there's no real third-party applications anywhere. You know, we build our own everything. And as a result, we're able to really run the kind of diagnostics that nobody else has access to. So imagine, you know, what I was telling you about me being a professional trader and how it took me $50,000 in losses to learn how to really just kind of get out of the gutter. And we all know that it's very lucky that I even had the $50,000 to learn with. And again, most people don't have that. So the real nuance of the odds maker technology is that it allows you to take any event that happens in trade ideas and test it as a entry signal and use like question type scenarios to see what would the answers be like. And now you know, notice again that what's happening right now, and this is why you may ask yourself, well, how come it's taking, you know, it's probably been like a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes to run this test, and it's, you know, we're still going through the 99th percentile. Well, we are testing this across every stock that met that criteria for the last 3 months. So anytime at any point during trading, a stock meets the criteria of trading 2 times its normal volume, we are testing to see what happens with it. Okay, and here what we see is there's been 5,225 times that that's taken place. So going out and just buying them is not good because you only have a success rate of 26%. Okay, and even though your average winner to average loser is pretty decent, and you know that's kind of something that you actually look for, everything else is terrible. Okay, but our computer's kind of giving you some high level. Okay, well maybe there's a way for it to fix it. Okay, so here's what we do. Okay, this button allows me to demonstrate to you how our technology works. So here we're testing the 2 times normal volume scenario, and I run it through our optimization and AI engine. And what it's doing is it's going to come up with this window, hopefully shortly, that will look somewhat like this, but it's actually going to be different. So I'm going to close this up. And it's going to basically go through every iteration of this and ask itself, okay, were there any statistical footprints that I could have used to improve this scenario? Much like if you were going here by hand and going through all the optimization elements and saying, okay, well, obviously, in this particular example, you know, after $50, it was really no good. You can tell that right away. But my goodness, from 45 to 49, that was a big chunk, 15 to 19. So you can kind of start isolating characteristics of these moves in lots of different ways. And price is, of course, only one element. And it's going to, you know, again, only tell you one thing. Same thing for time of day. Okay, so here we go. So the AI just looked through all those 5,000 trades, okay, and they did a bunch of scoring. It basically said, okay, let me see if I can find something. So the best one that it was able to find was something that scored a 5, okay. That's not terrible, but it's not fantastic, okay. And again, part of it is because I was just giving you guys an example. This is not how I would design a system, but I'm showing you how our AI works. So what I do now is I go to the alert window. I now change it and modify it based on the suggestions of the AI. That's what it tells me. It's the better version 9. Then I rerun the odds maker and I see, does that at the very least help me at all? Close that down. So one of the things, of course, is I run a developing version of our software. So mine is the most finicky, and if for some reason it doesn't do that, let me see. Let me try one more thing. One of the nice things, again, about Trade Ideas is that it also, if you have any issues, it typically is pretty easy to fix. One of the simplest ones is simply shut down, save what you had. Then just go back, look it up on your menu. That's what I'm doing on the other monitor. And I say OK. And in theory, everything comes right back just as you saw it. Again, this is, you know, it happens, guys. And I'm usually, of course, the one that has to kind of ad-lib it when it does, but hopefully this, you know, kind of re-kicks it. Okay. So definitely some improvement. So you see how, again, applied statistical analysis, applied mathematics, just gives us the power to help our customers in a way that nobody else can. For people that are familiar with like TradeStation or backtesting the way it's been done traditionally in the financial markets, this is a completely different animal. Back in the day, and still today, you have to create a system where you trade per stock. You know, you try to figure out, how do I trade Apple? How do I trade Twitter? How do I trade Facebook? But that's really not the right approach. You have to come up with a scenario and then figure out how to trade the scenario across the board. What scenario is working? And that's what Trade Ideas does. It helps you isolate the kind of scenarios where the equity curve goes like this. You know? And here, what's awesome is that we actually don't have, you know, our success rate is below 50%, but my goodness, when your average winner is 3 times bigger than your average loser, that's okay. You know, and notice how you can bake in commission here, and what you find out is that when you got a strategy this solid, you still shouldn't pay $100. But what happened? I meant to say, I think 10. Okay, you can pay 10 in and 10 out. What about 20? You can pay 20. What about 30? So again, what you find out is that the actual commission is not really the real killer, because you don't need to be going in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out all the time. You need to find a strategy where you can have a solid concept of what you're doing. Let's do one more AI run, and then we'll wrap it up. And this is, again, you guys will see how I work to make these strategies for your trade of the week and for everything else. So I'm going to do it one more time. Minimize, and what it's going to do now is it's just going to look at these, at the settings of this new system. And we'll see what we can get out of it. Okay, so it's done the tests. And again, I scroll, and to find, and now there's some really decent ones out here, okay? So we've got one in the 78% win rate. So I'm going to go with this one. I was actually surprised. It means the AI is very sharp today. So go to the alert window, collaborating, I paste it, and then I rerun the odds maker. Again, for those of you who are on the odds maker kind of trying to figure out if you should or shouldn't do it, so now we're we've improved this strategy even more. Narrowed down the total number of trades to 106, and created a pretty nice swing trading return. But again, not without its, look, still not all, roses. You can see what SHI, and that's what's really good is you can go back and see like where did you really do well? What were the things that contributed to your success, and then you can kind of go back and say to yourself, would you or would you not have done it? So again, that's the whole part of really being able to use this AI technology to not only kind of blindly try to follow it, but at least have confident application of the human and the computer. It's going to serve you up stuff with statistics behind it, and then you use your feel to act on it. Are there any other questions? And if not, by the way, Mike, thank you. We do also feel that our product is much better than Equity Feed. And it's not a knock on Equity Feed, it's just our product is better. They're decent. So Scott, why don't we leave it to you, and we can show the rest of the rest of the presentation.
Yeah, go ahead and park it on number 10. So something we want to do to thank everyone for showing up to tonight's webinar is give a product code that using on checkout will help you save some money. If I could direct your attention to the handouts panel on your GoToWebinar interface on your computer, you will see there's a handout. It's a PDF you can download, and it's going to have a link to the plans and pricing, and also include the code, which is TIPRO402, to commemorate the launch of Trade Ideas Pro version 4.0.2, which is the one that's on today's download. The code will take $50 off your first month, taking that down from $99 to $49 for the first month, and it will renew at $99. It'll take the year down to $738 for the first year, renewing at $888, and you can save money on the odds maker. It'll take $300 off of the odds maker license, down to only $800. And the odds maker is going to be necessary for the AI channel, which Dan kind of covered how that optimization takes place behind the scenes, except that will be seamless to you. You'll be able to reap the benefits of navigating to the channel and seeing what's working in the current markets. Use the code before Friday. It'll expire. And as always, you can contact us at info@tradeideas.com. You can reach out to Dan directly at dan@tradeideas.com. If you want any of the scans that Dan was showing, shoot Dan an email or send the email to info@ and we'll get those to you. Follow us on Facebook. You can follow Dan on Twitter at TradeIdeas1. We also have the corporate account at Trade Ideas. Give us a call if you have questions about a subscription plan. Otherwise, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to register for next week, so I'm sure we'll have something interesting to show you then, too. Thanks, Dan.